we can see the connection between them, right? Global equity markets overnight mix with markets in Asia generally lower, and a sprinkle of markets in Europe starting out higher. I think many of you know, especially in the morning, I focus on just quickly what's going on with Asia and Europe, and oftentimes this was a good place just to maybe get a little bit more data than what Argus had. Switching back to their kind of end of day report, well, apparently, equity markets were not cheered by the minimal signs of moderating inflation, perhaps because of the concern of renewed regulations on AI chip makers. Again, it's not meant to give you everything that you need to know, but possibly the important aspects of the day. If we were to look at the kind of weekly, you're going to see more or less a kind of a similar write-up, right? A little longer, but still based in paragraph form. As we've talked about, this is an analyst-driven firm, so you know this was kind of written by someone and kind of in an industry expert's take on what's going on within the markets. So it's certainly going to be a bit of a shame if we no longer get Hightower as a kind of component of the research firms that we have. I think these will be kind of sorely missed. It's looking like we're still getting updates with the commitments of traders, but this is really just raw data that I don't think many of you are really going to be paying attention to kind of futures data, net positions, weekly changes, and so forth, as you can see here. So for the future, I'll keep an eye out, and of course, we'll continue doing this session. I'll be sure to let everyone know if we start getting these daily and weekly report updates. So again, given the uncertainty with Hightower, we'll end it at this point here, which isn't necessarily a problem because it saves more time for Zacks. So let's go ahead and reverse course, jump back to the final firm here, Zacks Investment Research. And as mentioned in the kind of report types, they have a little bit of kind of a report for everyone, a little bit of data in a variety of topics. So here we can see from going from that research reports page, we can get the most up-to-date copies of their economic outlook report, their market strategy report, their model portfolio, the bull and bear of the day, which we already saw that was on the general stock research page, an industry outlook, which also includes some sector analysis, and then finally their stock research reports. So if we were to list kind of all of the reports that they have, right, they've got their economic report, their market report, their model portfolio, I guess I won't include bull and bear of the day, but their industry outlook, their individual stock reports, and then they also do provide data to the stock screener. So if you want to find stocks that were either outperforming or underperforming or kind of they're neutral on, we can do so as well. So I'm going to start maybe we'll go from the bottom on up, focusing on the stock research reports. And here, I would say that the best place to kind of show a little bit of what they have, and that's again what the goal of this session is, just to show you what is out there, not pick a report and dive through it with a kind of a fine eye, which possibly will be what we'll do in future once we've introduced them all. But let's jump into the stock screener. And just to show how we can kind of use not only their rating, but also what some of you are interested in. I think many of you know if you've come to my sessions when I incorporate the screener, I like working with maybe a few criteria that you all would like to use. So I'm going to add maybe two of my own. And then for anyone that's familiar with the screener, send me a criteria. What do you like to see in a stock? And I don't know if I'll be able to pick every one that gets sent in, but maybe if I see some common themes, I'll try to use those. And of course, provided we have it based on the criteria. So what we can do is over on the left-hand side, scroll all the way down to the bottom and choose Analyst Opinions. Scrolling down, we'll find Zacks Investment Research. Now clicking on this will give their kind of rating. So of the 9,500 stocks that are listed in here, they have ratings for maybe a little over 4,000. outperform, neutral, underperform. Just for the example today, let's go ahead and choose outperform. So now we're going to look at 358 stocks on our list. And we know all of these stocks, Zacks at least has a favorable opinion over the longer term. And we'll get into that kind of shortly. I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to add one more criteria here under most popular. And just to also show we can find things by using the search criteria. So I like looking at kind of the market cap, just picking mega cap and large cap companies because, well, I just want to pick names that you've heard of. So I could start typing in market cap, market capitalization, and of those 358 outperform, if we're just looking at mega and large, there are 24 stocks now in this list. And I did see, let's see, performance. Someone was mentioning kind of something with a positive performance. So I could start typing in performance. And I like this working with sometimes the search capability, especially if you're new with the tool and if you just want to see if there could be a few other things, right? We thought price performance. What price performance are you looking? The week, the month, quarter, the year? Let's go ahead and just do 52 weeks. And I would hope, I guess, that if Zacks had a positive outlook, well, most of these stocks should be positive, and we can see that is the case. Only two stocks were in the negative. Just curious if we had switched this to underperform. 52 weeks. Okay, now it looks like the majority of them are in the negative. And that may make sense doing underperform. Although, Kevin, I saw your kind of comment there. I find that many analysts and research firms have very negative recommendations, but the stock is doing much better. Is there a reason for this? So one thing I always like to point out, and I brought this up when we were talking about actually Ford quite a while ago, and keep in mind that their rating is kind of going forward. There could be a stock that has done very, very well, and now they're switching to a sell rating just because they don't think that stock can maybe sustain possibly that type of performance that it had in the past. So you could still see a stock that says, say, a fantastic stock that's done well over the past year or two, rated as underperform because that's what they expect going forward. Or maybe a stock that has done poorly, they rank it now outperform because they're expecting that it could continue to move upward. And oftentimes, if you're really kind of curious, especially with Zacks, since they do a good job, take a look at their individual report and see if they explain kind of why they're giving that rating and also how long they've had that rating on for that company. So what I'll end up doing here is outperform, market cap, price performance, and Terrell, I saw your comment, institutional buying. So let's just go through it this way here. If I were to start typing in kind of institutional, well, we do have institutional ownership last quarter versus prior quarter. So we can see, is there a change in institutional ownership, either increasing or decreasing? We can see negative, this would be a decrease. Anything up here, we almost wouldn't expect there to be a significantly large change, right, in their institutional ownership, like 20%, right, by an institution, by the kind of aspect of being a kind of an institutional owner, right? You necessarily wouldn't want to be moving the stock too much, at least selling or buying too many of those shares all at once. They're typically spaced out over time. But let's mix this up. Let's go negative. What companies have actually had lower institutional ownership? Interesting, a depository receipt pops up here. Sometimes you may want to question a little bit when you're seeing some data for the depository receipts because they're somewhat unique. But focusing on these two stocks, hey, let's not focus on NVIDIA. That gets brought up all the time. So let's dive in here. I'm going to click on the NVIDIA symbol. It's going to pull up a new page. This is the individual stock research page for NVIDIA. Jump on over to analyst ratings. And our research reports tile is to the right. And let's go ahead and find the Zacks report. Zacks Investment Research. This is their StarMine accuracy rating, hopefully. for you returning viewers, you're familiar with this. Their opinion outperformed, which we already know because we sorted by that. And let's try to take a look at their most recent report. Sometimes I have to open the PDF. Looks like this is working for me in the tab. So this is fortunately a fairly kind of consistent style that they're going to use, which is what we want, right? We don't want to look at the same company, multiple stocks have very different styled reports. They're all going to look more or less very similar to this. So Scott, I saw your comment. What is the time period for the outperform rating? Well, that's going to be top right on this page. They actually give two types of, I guess, kind of time frames or ratings. There's the long term 6 to 12. So again, is that long term? Well, it could be subjective, but in their mind, long is 6 to 12 months. They're giving it outperform. They've had that since May of last year. And prior to that, they were neutral on NVIDIA. Their short term, 1 to 3 months, they call this the Zacks rank. There's the recommendation and then the rank. The rank is a 1 to 5. They list it as a strong buy. They also give what's called the Zacks style score. And this is meant to rate the company among either value or among both value, growth, and momentum, where they say, hey, NVIDIA may not be a great value. And this could be the case if you're a value investor because you're looking at the PE ratio, you're looking at some of the numbers, and you're thinking, wow, this stock is very highly priced. But growth, hard to argue, right, with NVIDIA's growth. Momentum on the lower end, and then they gave a consolidated score within VGM. But just quickly to kind of again introduce this report, not that we're going to go through everything. They'll give a summary, which I think is just a great summary. This is probably one of the best summaries of any of the researcher firms. Mostly they're just talking about the company, but what I like about this is that it's fairly kind of irrelevant. NVIDIA, they're talking about, yes, what they are, which is, of course, what you want to know. They go into their specific kind of why their GPUs or the architecture in the GPU, why it's popular or why it's being used for AI. They even talk about collaborations that they have with Mercedes-Benz and Audi. And I would say this could be one of the best summaries of any of these research firms that provide well, their reports and will provide a summary, of course. They're going to give some of the quant data that was mentioned in their methodology, some basic overview of probably the data that I would say most of you might be just satisfied with just looking at this area. They've got sales data, should anyone be so inclined to view this. They give a further overview. So if you ever thought to yourself, especially with a company, what's going on with this company? I want to learn a little bit more. Take a look at the Zacks report. I think they're going to do a great just overview of the company, maybe why people are excited about it, or why folks are talking about it, because they just don't talk about just the basics. They really go into parts of the business. And in this case, right, they're doing it with NVIDIA, but they go into companies really with the same approach. Further EPS and sales data. Now, something that I've seen clients say that this is their favorite part, and that has been the reasons to buy followed by the reasons to sell or risks. I want to say it used to say reasons to sell, but maybe I'm just making that up. But the risks, you could say this could be maybe a reason to sell the underlying. But again, for those of you that, especially if you just found out about a stock that you're interested in and you don't know as much about the company, the reason to buy and reason to sell, try to present the bull's case and the bear's case. And Zacks has a tendency to do that, where they're going to talk about the good and the bad. Why some folks are bullish on that stock. What are they looking at? Why some folks are bearish on a stock. What are they looking at? Why are they saying sell while others are saying buy? And I like how Zacks takes this kind of bit of a balanced approach between trying to cater to both sides and showing what can be valid arguments on both sides of the spectrum. Risks to NVIDIA, just pointing out, right, US and China, possibly some geopolitical issues here. Competitors from AMD. a portion of sales that are outside of the US. So currency fluctuations could be a risk on the company. Just to pick a few quick excerpts there. Scrolling on down as we get to, in this case, page 5. Oftentimes they're about 10 pages. Sometimes they'll be eight or nine, depending on how much they go into this. But for those of you that, again, want to have a quick snapshot on the most recent earnings report, NVIDIA not too long ago, they had their report in May, and they give some of the data just taken right straight from that earnings report. So you don't have to go digging through the investor relations page on whatever stock you're looking at. You can possibly find some of the earnings data listed here. And then finally, they're going to give you, well, second to last, they're going to give you news in nice kind of bullet form, just what's going on with this company, right? Keep in mind that this report was, I want to say 2 days ago. So it's not going to be upwards of just yesterday or today, but still kind of recent news that's over the past month. And then I think at the very end here, you're going to get the raw data. They're going to be comparing, in this case, NVIDIA against their industry and the S&P, as well as some industry peers down below. So as I mentioned, maybe an overall theme with Zacks is that they have a little bit of something for everyone. They keep it very simple for someone who's really just getting started with a research report. I think Zacks can be very welcoming because it's analyst created, and they have just easy to read summaries that can help for kind of someone understand maybe why this company is considered good or why this company is considered bad by many investors and traders. So this is going to be that general research reports kind of look. If we were to pick another company, what's something different here? JP Morgan. I usually pick a financial company here. We were to go back to those same research firm reports page. There's Zacks, giving them a neutral. Notice I haven't updated in now 2 weeks, but it doesn't mean that they're forgotten about it. But I'm just showing this just to show you how similar overview, right? Reasons to buy. I knew it. Reasons to sell. All right. So sometimes they say reason to sell. Sometimes they say risks here. I could have sworn I think they typically say reason to sell, but maybe that's a subtle difference that matters. NVIDIA, they're not really actually giving reasons to sell, just risks to their stock's performance, versus JP Morgan has reason to sell. Again, the most recent earnings report, very similar. We're going to then be followed by news and then some of the quantitative kind of competitor analysis down below. So once you've seen one, you've seen them all, which is exactly what you want, right? You don't want to have to kind of relearn reports once you've gotten comfortable with a company. So I'm just going to go through these fairly quick because you'll see why in just a moment. So these other reports, the economic outlook and the strategy outlook, are very comprehensive. Let me close some of these tabs. They're going into the economy. I would say the strategy report might be more favorable for someone who wants to focus more on stocks, the stock market, the investing landscape. This is a 30-page report, and I have quoted from this from time to time. It's by this John Blank, and they're going to go into facts about GDP, inflation, all in one report. And I can't go through it all, but if you really have a little more time, if Hightower was maybe the the high tower, right? You're taking that very kind of up high view of what's going on within the overall market. Zacks is kind of like the opposite. They're going to go really deep into a variety of topics. So focusing on the June issue in the strategy report, these are some of the topics. Chart of the month, rank, sector picks, where they talk about, I know this gets somewhat popular here, where they'll kind of rank their look for sector. Is it page 43? Just to quickly kind of go through here, right? They'll even give a ranking on their sector. And unlike the markets and sectors page, where we'll tell you the market weight and whether they're expecting you to be market weight, underweight, or overweight from CFRA and Argus, Zacks actually provides the data, not on a markets and sector page, but they provide the data here in their own reports. So it's not, you're not just limited to those two kind of weightings that we have on our markets and sector page. Zacks also has some of that data listed here. They have a model portfolio, which is somewhat interesting, similar to Argus and their model portfolio, where they're going to kind of keep this running list of stocks, how long they've been there and their performance. So I like this. So who mentioned this earlier? And I know we're a minute over. We'll go maybe 3 more minutes just to make these final points. Who brought this up here? Kevin, right? You're talking about endless firms and their recommendations. What I like about this is they have their recommendations here in this model portfolio. Notice they're not all ones, right? I mean, they've some of these companies have been in here for some time. They had NVIDIA in 2019. It's gone up 3,000% since they've added it, of course. But they've also had some clunkers on this list. They've had Prologis here, PLD, since 2020, and they have lost, well, actually still at 15%. No, they have some red here. There we go. Then go farther down. Enphase Energy, down 20% since they added it not even a year ago. And some of these companies have been in here for some time. I want to say there were even some from, here we go, right? 2016, 2017, and you can see their associated performance. The final one, just to quickly point out, is the industry outlook. They do this daily, and they're going to talk about a particular industry. So let's go ahead and click on that. And in this case, oh, technology services, a fairly popular one here. They're going to talk again about the industry with the description and industry trends. And again, I think it's written very well. That's one of Zach's strong points. They just write it in a very easily readable, easily kind of digestible manner. Nothing too technical. They're not going to fill it up with too much industry jargon. They're going to compare it against in this case, the business services market, technology services market, and the S&P. Oftentimes, they're going to compare it against the sector. These ones, just similar to the other reports, once you've seen one, you've more or less seen them all. They give you three, in this case, technology services stocks moving ahead of the pack, and they're going to talk about some of their popular stocks within each industry. And that's kind of Zacks in a nutshell, right? And that's what this is kind of meant to be, just to show you kind of what exists in this Zacks universe. Now, there's a lot to this. And fortunately, now that we have kind of finished this research firm's journey that we've been on, as I've talked about it, next month, I still want to keep this going. There are a few kind of research firms, or I guess we could say third-party analysts that provide data for ETFs. So next month, we're going to go into some ETF data. We'll either try to do that in 1 month, possibly two, but then following that, the goal here now is for everyone that's interested in what's available in third party. Now that you all know what is here, now we get to kind of have a little bit more fun and dive into the firms. So there has been, as we can see, quite a lot of data from Zacks. CFRA is, I never get to talk about it in sessions. I never get to point to some of their research, but they make just some great reports from time to time. And Argus does more than MarketWatch. So in future sessions, what we're going to be doing is just keeping up to date with kind of what's going on and picking what I'm going to find, hopefully some of the most popular I guess, in my opinion, but I think many of you, based on the response that you get, some interesting topics that I think are going to reach the widest audience. So we'll focus on that as we continue this kind of research reports journey going forward. But I know we're already 6 minutes over. I do want to be respectful of your time. Andrew, I saw your comment. Out of all the research reports, which are the best reports you can recommend? I can't say which is the best because some days, I mean, maybe I like Argus a lot, but CFRA, I guess we could say Zacks makes some great reports. I like the Jefferson and the IBES kind of individual kind of contributions that they make. So it is tough to pick one. Terrell, when are new reports uploaded to Fidelity, or when is the best time to look for new reports? I would just say daily. Some of them you'll know which ones get updated maybe once a week or daily or once a month. So really it's just maybe every now and then, whenever is best for you. So I can't really tell you a singular day, but hopefully that helps. But until next time, everyone, please be safe out there. Hopefully, you'll join me as we now leave stock research reports, go over to ETF research reports, and then finally, we'll get to actually dive into them into the future. But this is fun. I always like this kind of personal session that I have with all of you here. But until next time, please be safe out there. Best of luck on any trades, and I hope to see you on another session, possibly very, very soon. Take care, everyone, and be well.